Ozempic, a single injection, a few months, and the weight disappears like magic. No diets, no workouts, just results. Celebrities swore by it. Social media is flooded with before and after photos. Doctors prescribed it. Pharmacies sold out. But then the side effects appeared. Nausea, stomach paralysis, muscle loss. Some lost weight, others lost the ability to eat. Some called it a miracle, others called their lawyers. Now Ozempic stands at the center of lawsuits, investigations, and pharmaceutical battles. But demands kept rising, faster than the warnings, and as people lined up for the shot, one question remained. Are we witnessing a medical breakthrough, or the biggest gamble in modern medicine? When Novo Nordisk first brought Ozempic to the public in 2017, it wasn't marketed as a weight loss drug. It was meant to help people with type 2 diabetes manage blood sugar, reduce heart disease risk, and gain metabolic control. The science behind it was simple. The drug contained semaglutide, a compound mimicking a natural gut hormone called GLP-1. This hormone helps regulate insulin, but it also slows digestion and reduces appetite. For diabetic patients, those effects made a difference. Blood sugar improved, insulin sensitivity returned. In many cases, people slowly started to lose weight as a bonus. But that bonus soon took on a life of its own, because outside the doctor's office, a new pattern was forming, the kind that doesn't show up in clinical trials, and it started showing up in the one place medicine couldn't ignore: Hollywood. Overnight, celebrities were slimming down, fast. No interviews, no gym routines, just a sudden change. The kind of change that doesn't come from salads and Pilates. In October 2022, Elon Musk was asked about his weight loss. His response? Fasting and Wegovy. That was it, one tweet, but it cracked everything open. And with nearly 150 million followers, the secret didn't stay quiet for long. Wegovy, a higher dose of Ozempic, was nearly identical in formula. Both used semaglutide, both suppressed appetite, both delivered fast results. But it was Ozempic that took over headlines, timelines, and prescriptions. Soon, the celebrity list kept growing. Kim and Khloe Kardashian, Adele, Oprah, Chelsea Handler joked about taking it by mistake. Sharon Osbourne, Tracy Morgan, Charles Barkley. Hollywood lit the match, but TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit poured gasoline on it. Scroll after scroll showed shocking before and afters. 20, 30, even 50 pounds gone. Then came the moment that sent the internet into chaos. Nikocado Avocado, the YouTuber known for extreme binge eating, disappeared from social media. When he came back, he was down over 250 pounds. He didn't explain how. He didn't need to. Most people had the same guess: Ozempic. The silence only fueled the belief. If it worked for him, maybe it could work for anyone. Soon, the drug was everywhere. People saw it as a fast, effortless way to reshape their bodies. No one asked questions, they just lined up for results. But once the rush slowed, new patterns began to surface. Subtle symptoms, strange complications, signs that didn't match the promise. The side effects hadn't shown up for millions chasing quick fixes, but they were coming. And when they hit hard. At first, it felt like control, a shot, a few weeks, a lighter body. But something else was happening. People started skipping meals, then forgetting to eat. Some went hours, even days without feeling hungry. And it didn't take long before the first complications began to show. Jennifer Dootson, a mother of 3 from Ohio, joined the trend after watching her friends slim down almost overnight. She lost nearly 50 pounds in just 6 months. But one night, crippling pain brought her to the ER. Her gallbladder was inflamed and on the verge of rupturing. Doctors said the rapid fat loss had overwhelmed her system. She underwent emergency surgery. Jennifer survived, but just barely. And she wasn't the only one. Amy Kane, a fitness instructor from New York, dropped 40 pounds in weeks. She loved how she looked, but soon her legs gave out. Climbing stairs felt like scaling a mountain. Tests showed severe muscle atrophy. Her body had shifted into starvation mode, breaking down muscle tissue to stay alive. Amy had to pause her career and enter a physical rehab program to rebuild basic strength. These tests came early and carried a clear message. A global safety study conducted by the World Health Organization uncovered more than 5,400 cases of serious complications, blocked intestines, stomach paralysis, and long-term damage to the digestive tract. The same drug that promised control was now showing up in ER charts, lawsuits, and medical journals around the world. And as the numbers grew, one question refused to go away. Did the people at the top already know? It turns out they'd been warned before. Novo Nordisk's problems, they didn't start with Ozempic. Back in 2010, they launched Victoza, another diabetes drug, before it was fully cleared from the market. Inside the company, safety experts were already raising concerns. Patients were reporting severe nausea, signs of kidney issues, and dangerous inflammation of the pancreas. The risks were documented. Executives moved forward anyway. The drug went public. By 2013, the trouble deepened. Danish authorities opened an investigation and uncovered billions in suspicious accounting tactics, accusations of transfer mispricing to reduce their tax burden. Trust fractured, but the company kept going like nothing happened. That same year, Victoza made headlines again. Researchers began looking into a deeper risk, a possible link to pancreatic cancer. A study published in Diabetes Care found a spike in pancreatitis among Victoza users, raising serious concerns. The evidence wasn't conclusive, but it was enough to rattle doctors. Novo Nordisk stayed quiet. Instead, they focused on expanding their reach. Between 2013 and 2022, the company quietly funneled over $25 million to US doctors, mostly obesity specialists. The strategy was clear: pay the right people and flood the market. The Reuters investigation later revealed that at least 57 doctors received more than $100,000 each. Dr. Lee Kaplan, one of the most recognized figures in obesity medicine, collected roughly $1.4 million. Dr. Donna Ryan, former president of the Obesity Society, revealed over $1 million. These weren't isolated payments. ProPublica's Dollars for Docs database showed that in 2018 alone, Novo Nordisk paid $24 million to more than 55,000 doctors. Over 7.7 million of that was tied directly to Ozempic. And the spending didn't stop. By 2022, they had paid for over 457,000 meals for US physicians, nearly 85% focused on Ozempic and Ribelsus. Behind closed doors, even physicians admitted it. The pressure was real. Prescriptions became less about care and more about staying connected, because the more money that changed hands, the faster Ozempic moved from a diabetes drug to a cultural force. Then they crossed a line. In March 2023, Novo Nordisk was suspended for 2 years from the Association of the British Pharmaceutical Industry for bribing healthcare professionals. Internal promotional events showed Novo reps pushing their weight loss drugs without disclosing key safety information. Doctors were urged to prescribe quickly without hearing the full risks. Multiple codes of conduct were broken. The ABPI called it what it was: a serious breach of trust. It wasn't a courtroom loss, but it hit just as hard. Membership revoked, credibility wrecked. And for the first time, the industry had drawn a hard line. And just when it couldn't get worse, it did. In 2024, Novo Nordisk stopped producing insulin pens. No warning, no backup plan. These were essential devices used daily by millions with diabetes. The company blamed supply chain issues, but behind the scenes, production had been shifted to high-profit drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. The fallout hit developing countries the hardest. Novo Nordisk made a choice, and once again, it was the most vulnerable who paid the price. Then came the political fallout. In September 2024, Senator Bernie Sanders confronted Novo Nordisk's CEO, Lars Fruergaard Jørgensen, before Congress. The hearing followed months of public anger over rising drug prices. Ozempic was at the center, one of the most expensive medications on the market. In the US, a monthly dose cost nearly $1,000. In Canada, $155. In Germany, $59. Sanders demanded answers. Jorgensen pointed to pharmacy benefit managers, the middlemen who negotiate drug prices with insurers and pharmacies, as the reason for the inflated costs. But that excuse didn't hold. Those same benefit managers had already told Congress they wouldn't block a price reduction. Nothing was stopping Novo Nordisk from cutting the cost, except Novo Nordisk. They had the power to lower the price. They simply chose not to. Jorgensen sat silent. And for millions of Americans struggling to afford their medication, that silence said enough. Soon after, Sanders introduced a bill to regulate drug pricing, specifically targeting drugs like Ozempic. But in the US, bills take time. Nothing changes until it passes Congress. Until then, companies aren't required to move. Novo Nordisk knew that, so they didn't. Prices stayed high. As cameras rolled in DC, lawyers were already filing cases, one after another. By early 2025, more than 1,500 patients had filed cases. The claims, long-term side effects, emotional fallout, and no proper disclosure. The lawsuits were bundled into a single legal battle in Pennsylvania. As of today, no settlements have been made. Legal analysts estimate payouts could reach $400,000 to $700,000 per patient, totaling hundreds of millions, possibly more. Novo Nordisk stood by its defense. They claimed the risks were known and the labels were clear. Patients said otherwise. And as the cases moved forward, one thing became harder to ignore. The drug that promised results was now under fire for the damage it left behind. You'd think the lawsuits, the side effects, the Senate hearings, they should have slowed things down. But this was just the beginning. By 2025, global sales of Ozempic had already crossed $10 billion, with projections soaring toward $24 billion by 2035. Warnings didn't scare people, they fueled the obsession. The more dangerous the drug seemed, the more people lined up to get it. Ozempic became a social currency, a luxury product that broke free of regulation and spun completely out of control. But demand was outpacing supply. Prescriptions were harder to get, pharmacies ran dry. Doctors began rationing doses to patients with diabetes or severe obesity. And in the US, the price stayed sky high, nearly $1,000 a month. Most insurance didn't cover it. Overseas, it was cheaper, but not always accessible. So, for everyone else, those chasing quick fixes, viral transformations, or approval in the mirror, there was only one place left to turn. Telegram groups, shady online vendors, unlicensed resellers offering semaglutide for less. No prescriptions, no oversight, no questions. Some pens were real, others were filled with sugar water, alcohol-based solutions, or raw peptide powder from overseas factories. A few didn't work at all, and the worst, they sent users straight to the ER. One FDA investigation in late 2024 linked several hospitalizations to counterfeit pens laced with bacterial contaminations. Others were flagged for causing hyperglycemia, infection, or nerve damage. But the danger didn't end there. As access tightened, patients turned to compound pharmacies, legal but loosely regulated labs mixing their versions of semaglutide. These weren't knockoffs, but they weren't clinically tested either. Dosages varied, ingredients changed, safety standards were inconsistent, and social media, it turned the chaos into a trend. TikTok exploded with tutorials, people injecting themselves in parking lots, public bathrooms, and even during Zoom meetings. No doctors, no follow-ups, no plan, just strangers online explaining how to inject, where to order, and how much to take. Meanwhile, luxury clinics were cashing in. In Los Angeles, Miami, and Dubai, $3,000 wellness packages offered weekly Ozempic shots, bundled with vitamin IV drips, facial treatments, and personalized diet plans. No diagnosis is required, and there is no waiting list. It became the ultimate status symbol. A thinner body is sold in glass buildings with green juice on the side. But while the rich booked their next round, type 2 diabetics were being turned away. In places like South Africa and India, where medical access was already stretched, insulin pens vanished overnight. Clinics went without supplies, patients reverted to outdated syringes prone to infection. A drug once designed for stability had become a symbol of inequality. And when it seemed like things couldn't get any more commercial, they did. Dozens of weight loss clinics are partnering with influencers. Instagram and TikTok creators with hundreds of thousands of followers began posting sponsored content. Before and after shots, glowing reviews, links to book your first appointment. Many offered referral codes that gave clinics a cut of every new customer. For viewers, it was hard to tell where the advice ended and the ad began. The FDA had issues about misleading content tied to Ozempic, but the posts kept coming, and so did the bookings. As demand reached record heights, new players stepped into the ring. Eli Lilly launched Mounjaro, a next-gen injectable that didn't just mimic GLP-1, it also activated GIP, a second gut hormone that amplified weight loss by targeting 2 brain pathways instead of 1. Not to be outdone, Novo Nordisk responded with a new drug. In late 2014, they signed a $2 billion deal with United Laboratories in China to develop UBT251, a triple-action drug that simultaneously targets GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptors. The goal? More appetite suppression, more fat burn, more weight loss. Early trials showed patients dropping up to 15.1% of their body weight in just a few months. No one slowed down. No one asked questions. It became a race to sell more, move faster, and take over. From pharmacies to black markets, TikTok to luxury clients, it stopped being a medicine a long time ago. Now it lives in algorithms, sold with filters, injected with hope. And the people behind it, they weren't chasing curves, they were chasing control. A drug built for one thing was pushed to do something entirely different. It was designed to help manage diabetes, not to silence hunger, strip muscle, and rewrite how people relate to food. Because when you force the body to stop eating, when meals turn into needles, something's going to break. First, it was the body, then quietly, it reached the mind. By 2025, therapists across the country began noticing something else. Patients had lost weight, followed the plan, but something still felt off. Their routines changed, their eating changed, but their self-image didn't. Some grew anxious, others felt emotionally detached. A few admitted they couldn't recognize themselves in the mirror. Physically, their bodies had adapted. Emotionally, they hadn't. The weight they carried inside, that part stayed. One patient told the New York Times, "I looked better than ever, but I felt worse. It was like I had no appetite for anything, not just food." Some lived in fear of regaining the weight, others became obsessed with checking the scale. And those who tried to quit the drug, many spiraled, because when the weight came back, so did the shame. A 2024 study published in The Lancet revealed something alarming. Nearly 4 in 10 non-diabetic Ozempic users experienced rebound weight gain and post-treatment depression. Most said they were never warned. At the same time, online forums filled with quiet confessions, disordered eating, body dysmorphia. But unlike the glamorous before and after photos, these stories didn't go viral. No headlines, no TikToks, just silence. With no therapy, no follow-up, and no real support, people were left to navigate it alone. Those who hadn't taken the drug started to feel like they were falling behind, and those who had, many stayed on it long after their goals were met. Not out of need, but out of fear. Fear of losing what they gained, fear of judgment, fear of losing control. Even teens weren't spared. Pediatric prescriptions spiked, raising concerns across the medical field. What were young people learning? That hunger is a weakness? That confidence comes from a needle? That being thin equals being enough? A generation began tying identity to a drug, and in chasing an ideal, they may have triggered something no one knows how to stop. Ozempic gave a lifeline for those desperate to feel accepted, to feel worthy, to feel enough. But what happens when that feeling fades, when the progress suddenly stalls, when the needle runs dry? This was meant to be a revolution in medicine. Instead, it exposed something far more fragile: our relationship with health, with image, with ourselves. They fixed the number on the scale, but forgot to ask what it would do to the mind. And now, as the world chases thinness like a miracle, we're left asking a far deeper question. What if the drug that fixed our bodies broke everything else?